Good morning, everyone. Welcome into this SEC Morning Report. I'm Blayne Gilmer. This is Southeastern 14, your home for daily SEC sports coverage. Guys, we are going to dive right into the Georgia Bulldogs. Yes, it was a disappointing finish for the Bulldogs as they did not make the college football playoff after a 3-point loss in the SEC championship game to Alabama, something that the Georgia Bulldogs definitely are going to want to avenge sooner rather than later, meaning next year. And in order to do that, you have to have excellent play at the quarterback position. They certainly had that this year, and we're going to dive into the future of the quarterback position for the Georgia Bulldogs. There is a lot to be excited about depending on which way it goes. It could look a little bit different one way or another, but a lot to be excited about. And real quick, before we get into that, something you should be excited about is the opportunity you have to have a little promotion here with Bet Online, guys. The holiday season is off and rolling with NFL in full stride. Also, the NHL and NBA are hitting midseason form. Bet Online is your number one destination for all your sports wagering, with up-to-the-minute sports wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. Bet Online is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports, and not just the big four sports, guys. Bet Online has information available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time for almost any sport there is out there, from MMA to international soccer. Head over to Bet Online today and remember to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. And where we're going to start, guys, is with Carson Beck himself, the Georgia quarterback that waited into his fourth year on campus. So 3 years he sat behind JT Daniels, behind Stetson Bennett, and waited for his opportunity to be the guy for the Georgia Bulldogs. And he largely made good on that opportunity, almost 3,800 yards passing in his first year as a starter, over 72% completion rate, 22 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. And now the Georgia Bulldogs are awaiting his decision on whether he will return or whether he will go to the NFL draft. There have been a couple of meetings so far, as reported by various outlets out there, that Georgia has already been meeting with Carson Beck, with his representation. Mike Bobo has also met with Carson Beck. So when it comes down to it, guys, there's the decision that has to be made. Does Carson Beck believe that, there's some NFL scouts, there's some reports being put out there that he could go as high as the first round in the NFL draft this year? If that is the case, and he is strongly convicted enough about that, and he's getting enough reports about that, then he could very well go to the NFL draft. However, the feeling is, as of late, with guys like Rusty Manziel and other people out there, that Carson Beck has a opportunity and has a lean towards coming back next year. And what that would look like for the Georgia Bulldogs would be huge, because there's games like going to Alabama, going to Texas next year. That would be a massive game. There's a Clemson game that you get to open up the year with. So there's so many opportunities for Carson Beck to come back and lead this team in some high-profile games, and he's a competitor. We know that he enjoys the ability to go out there and test himself against really, really tough defenses. And, he kind of got handcuffed a little bit, I felt, in the SEC championship game. I don't feel that Georgia really stuck to the game plan that had got him there all year long, and there's various reasons for that. When you talk about Maris Mims going down, when you talk about the injuries to Brock and Ladd with their ankles and kind of playing on one leg, so to speak. So there's various injuries and various reasons why they weren't able to just go out and operate at the high octane level that they kind of did all year as a passing game, a passing unit. So will that motivate him to come back and try to kind of finish the job, so to speak, or is the NFL going to be too hard to pass up? Right now, I would bet on him coming back. But if he does not come back, guys, the question then turns to, what does it look like going forward? Well, we learned yesterday that the backup, Brock Vandegrift, is in the transfer portal, and you see the Kentucky logo here. It is widely speculated that he will be going to the Kentucky Wildcats. Now, he has grown up a fan of Auburn and things of that nature, but I don't think Auburn's looking to go in a different direction to get a more experienced guy. Vandegrift is a tremendous athlete, a former 5-star prospect out of Prince Avenue Christian, right there outside of Athens and Bogart, Georgia. So when it comes down to it, he's got all the talent in the world, but he doesn't have those playing reps. Now, Kentucky is used to doing this before. Will Levis was a guy who didn't have a ton of reps, and he came in and played from Penn State to Kentucky and had success there with Liam Cohen. And Liam Cohen could use the talents of Brock Vandegrift here. His legs, he's a tremendous athlete. He's a big physical guy, has a strong arm. So it wouldn't be shocking to see him land with the Kentucky Wildcats sooner rather than later. But with that being said, he will not be Georgia's quarterback next year. So it becomes okay, if Beck were to leave, what would happen? With the only other guy, scholarship guy on the roster at that point would be Gunnar Stockton, that in terms of returning. And Gunnar Stockton, a legend inside the state of Georgia from Rabun County, has surpassed many of Herschel Walker's records statistically inside the state when it comes to rushing and touchdowns and all this kind of stuff. I mean, just crazy amount of numbers that he was able to put up for the Rabun County Wildcats. However, he's spent most of his time playing scout team, has not seen much game action at all. So that would be a daunting task to ask someone to come in and kind of be the guy to go on the road to Alabama, go on the road to Texas, play a Clemson team, play in the rivalry that is the Florida game. All of these matchups that would come on these big moments, and it would be a tough deal to ask someone who hasn't played very much to be able to come in and kind of do that. Now, one advantage that Gunnar Stockton does have is mobility. I wouldn't call him a burner by any means, but he's got some escapability. He's got some wiggle to him. He's a tough guy, not afraid to take a hit, but you cannot be a run first guy in the SEC. Even Jalen Milroe, who's a tremendous athlete, big physical guy that Georgia just saw in the SEC championship game, he's looking to throw it first. He's looking to make plays in the pocket first before he escapes and runs. And then when the time is necessary, they have some design quarterback runs, some things like that they do with him. But we would have to see a lot of growth there, in my opinion. And then I think the biggest factor is that you have some talented dudes behind Gunnar Stockton in these two, in Dylan Raiola and Ryan Puglisi. Now, depending on what service you look at, recruiting service and things like that, both of these guys have 5-star traits in my mind. They have big arms. They're big body guys that can beat you not only with their arms, but also mentally. These guys are smart. They're able to handle a lot at the line of scrimmage and things like that, especially for high school freshmen, both not high school freshmen, especially for incoming freshmen. Both will be on campus at Georgia, early enrollees in January. So Dylan Raiola is a guy who's going to be, 6'3", 215 pounds when he arrives on campus. And he's a guy that has played at Buford, didn't have the luxury of having the best Buford offensive line in front of him this year. However, he did make a ton of plays for that Buford team and Ryan Puglisi. And Ryan Puglisi is going to have to make the adjustment from playing at Avon Farms, a private school up at Connecticut. That would be a totally different level of football. One reason that Puglisi, is excited about the challenge of coming to Georgia is just that, being able to play a big brand of football. And then one reason that Dylan Raiola ended up moving to Georgia, once he had committed to Georgia, he ended up moving to Georgia and playing for that Buford team, so he would play against stiffer competition, 7A ball in the state of Georgia, big-time high school football. So both of these guys are the type of guys that I don't see them sitting around and waiting for more than a year. Okay. I think that these are the type of guys that are totally understanding that, hey, you don't go to a really good college program and just jump in right away if that program usually is a good team. Okay. Typically, when it's a good team, it takes a little while to get in there, learn the offense, do things like that. But it doesn't take that long. It doesn't take more than a year to do so. So I think that situation will kind of weed itself out between those two when the time comes. But I would suspect that either Raiola or Puglisi ends up passing Stockton at some point, even if it is after another year of Carson Beck. Like I said, I believe Carson Beck is leaning towards coming back. I would say that unless he gets just some firm confirmation from the NFL that teams have him, hey, you're number 3 or 4 on the board when it comes to quarterbacks, because you always see that run, you always see the NFL looking for those guys there. Then I would say he's probably going to come back to Georgia, and that he would probably be compensated very handsomely in NIL to do so. But the big question is, if he were to leave, I think Georgia would have to go out and get a kind of a bridge guy, portal guy. I don't think Georgia would just roll forward with Gunnar Stockton out there. And then I don't know that it's fair with the type of schedule that Georgia has to ask one of those incoming freshmen, albeit early enrollees and albeit guys who are going to want to shoulder that burden and take on that challenge in Ryan Puglisi and Dylan Raiola, of being able to play as a true freshman, and they want that opportunity. I think it would probably serve Georgia best to go out and get a guy who's a bridge type guy, a guy that maybe with 1 year of eligibility left in the portal, and Lord knows there is plenty of them out there for Georgia to choose from if that is the case. But I'm sure we'll know sooner rather than later on the Carson Beck decision. Like I said, maybe even today, as I've recorded this on early Tuesday morning. And then, after that, we'll see what direction that Georgia goes in. However, I do want to say that the job that Carson Beck did this year, with the amount of pressure that was on him after Stetson Bennett wins back-to-back national championships for the University of Georgia, the pressure just to come in and uphold a standard, I think he exceeded all the expectations. I think he played extremely well. I think he handled that challenge, that adversity that came his way early on in the season, with opportunities just to kind of tank it early, getting down to Auburn, getting down to South Carolina, different things that Carson Beck overcame. And then in the last half of the season, just absolutely ran through that schedule for Georgia, and especially when it got tougher in the month of November. Now, the SEC championship didn't work out the way that he wanted it to, but again, I think that was on a lot of other factors other than the performance of Carson Beck. So that would put Georgia with a great leg up if they're able to retain Carson Beck and he's able to come back for next year. But if they don't, I would think you would see Georgia go out and get some experience in the transfer portal. Secondly, I think that either Dylan Raiola or Ryan Puglisi, and if my money was on it, I would say Dylan Raiola ends up sooner rather than later becoming the heir apparent to whoever the quarterback is next year. There's certain guys out there that are just built differently. There's certain guys out there that have an arm talent that just can't be matched. And Dylan Raiola is a strong human being that he's more mobile than some people think. I mean, he's able to run, escape the pocket, but also if people, come and they're trying to tackle him or arm tackle him or grab a jersey or things like that, he's just so strong. He's able to fight through some of those things, and the lower half of his body is strong enough where he's able to throw off platform and still get plenty on the football to deliver it down the field. Made several of those type of throws. Reminds you almost of at certain points with how he's able to shake off defenders and make throws, in tight spaces and stuff like that, of a Ben Roethlisberger type of quality about him when he has that type of stuff going on. His dad was a center in the NFL for nearly 15 years. And so that he knows football and knows protections, knows how to read defenses, things of that nature. And that both of those guys, Puglisi and Raiola, coming in January is going to be huge for the Georgia Bulldogs. But the question is, what is Carson Beck going to do? We'll find that out in the next couple of days, because Georgia will need to know, hey, do we need to go hit something in the portal? Do we need to go try and get someone that has some experience for this 2024 season to compete with Stockton, to compete with those two incoming freshmen? And that's the thing it is at Georgia. Nothing's guaranteed to anybody, despite all the what I just told you with the leanings of, hey, I think Raiola is the most talented of anyone in that group, and I think he's the future for Georgia. There's going to be competition every bit of the way. We saw it with the Stetson Bennett deal. You have to earn it at Georgia, and you have to win the starting job. And like I said, I think there is going to be great opportunity for those guys in that room to do that. And we'll find out, like I said, what happens with Carson Beck in the next day or two, and we'll see what the future of that Georgia quarterback room is. But I'm telling you, be on the lookout for a transfer edition if Carson Beck leaves, and then it'll be exciting to see the guys Stockton, Raiola, Puglisi battle it out for jockeying in position there in January and throughout the spring when that gets going. So, guys, this is Southeastern 14. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave your comments as well. That helps out. And remember, we are presented here by Bet Online. And we'll catch you guys next time to talk more SEC football right here on Southeastern 14.